Welcome back to Transcriber from Reddit. Today's topic comes from the subreddit exLutheran, posted by user I_ear_u. The title is Failure to Report Abuse, and it's linked to a tmj4.com article. Before I get into it, this is what it's referring to. Daniel Rick, former teacher at a Wells school, was charged January 2025 with child sex crimes. There was a principal at that same school, Principal Henning, and Principal Henning was alleged to have known about and covered up Rick's child abuse, which is a criminal offense. For more information on that, I will link to my previous videos here. According to this article, there is an update for that Thiensville Principal Henning, titled 30-Day Jail Sentence Begins for Former Thiensville Principal Convicted of Failing to Report Child Abuse. Written by Alex Gall, posted originally on July 23, 2026. A former Thiensville Lutheran school principal began a 30-day jail sentence Wednesday after being convicted of failing to report child abuse at his school. Michael Henning was sentenced last week in Ozaukee County Court on one misdemeanor count of failure/report child abuse/neglect, according to court documents obtained by TMJ4 News. According to a partial transcript of the July 15th sentencing hearing, Judge Adam Garral told Henning he should have done more to stop the abuse and that he had not shown remorse or taken responsibility for his failure to act. The case centers on former Christ Alone Lutheran School (CALS) teacher Daniel Rick, who is accused of inappropriately touching students on the buttocks, kissing them on the forehead, and pulling a boy's pants down. Rick eventually pled guilty to one felony count of exposing himself to a child. In April, he was sentenced to 1.5 years in prison, with an additional 2 years of extended supervision, according to court documents. Judge Garral noted that while Henning is not responsible for the teacher's actions, his inaction allowed the abuse to continue. Henning resigned from CALS shortly after being charged in January, according to a statement from the school sent to TMJ4 News on Tuesday. The school says it remains committed to quote, the safety and well-being of every student, end quote. Prosecutors alleged Henning first learned of the abuse in December 2023, but did not report it to authorities for more than a year, despite his status as a mandated reporter. Court documents also alleged Henning referred to parent complaints as a, quote, he said, she said, end quote, situation, and downplayed the teacher's actions as, quote, dumb mistakes, end quote. Here ends the article. In bold, it ends on a final sentence. This story was reported on air by a journalist and has been converted. I hope eventually there is a list similar to a sex offender list of people who failed to do their due diligence as mandated reporters in order for parents and teachers that are at these schools and that are doing their due diligence, especially parents, and they are suspicious of something or someone not doing their job, they can look at that list to see if the person has ever been in a similar situation and failed to report as their mandated reporter duties tell them they should. Here's a subreddit post that originally posted this link. In the comments, you will see multiple users, both from Wells congregations and LCMS congregations, who are not surprised at this failure to report abuse. User Sarah Muffin wrote, gross, how long until he is working at a different Wells school? User Run Rosemary wrote, they have most likely offered him a religion teacher role at Wisco or WLC. Promotions for perverts is their modus operandi. Did anyone catch that the principal was sentenced and admonished by the judge for not taking responsibility for his failure to report, parentheses, as a mandated reporter, end parentheses. I thought repentance was part of the whole, quote, being a Christian shtick. quote, being a Christian, end quote, shtick. This POS couldn't even do that for placing a child in harm's way. Note that the words for placing a child in harm's way are in all caps. I guess he didn't read the Matthew 18 verse 6. User Day Puzzle-Headed 4833 wrote, apparently he worked at Good Shepherd in West Allis, Wisconsin before all this. I was talking to my family about it, and my brother went, oh yeah, they were your nibblings principal there. I went, what the fuck? He was all, well, it's not involved with anything, so it's okay. He's the principal. It's his job. He's a mandated reporter. It's the law. He knew. All of my sympathies go to this user here. To find out that this awful principal was principal at a different school makes you question everything you knew about the teachers and the principal's actions there. Was there something that happened that you didn't know about? Was there something that you should have known about and the principal failed to report? Does the principal's misconduct extend past his misconduct that we know of at this one school where Daniel Rick was at? User Emmylou Esquire wrote, you know he probably got calls and moved around the country. These people are a sick group, parentheses. I read he was a Wells employee. When my pastor was caught with CSAM and touching a boy, the church circled around him, even though his wife had an in-home daycare. These people are sick. And I remember being in that church when the Catholics were accused on the same thing, and since we were afraid of Catholics for whatever reason, I think it was because they knew the Wells had a lot of pedophiles in the pastor's group and their school group. I'm so glad I wasn't targeted, but my cousin was. Last comment I will cover here, Relevant-Shop 8513 wrote, finally, in the active case of failure to report by church workers, religious institutions should not be able to provide cover for criminals because of a church's concept of grace and forgiveness. The cover-up to protect the church's image will be harder to manage as well. Australia is actively pursuing those cults and established religions involved in these crimes, and the courts in the U.S. need to as well. I agree 100%. We need to get more of these cases before the courts, and especially more of these cases where we have evidence. Regardless of how the case goes, we need to get these into the court's eye. And we also need to get more documentation, because even if it's alleged, what parent that has their child going to a religious school would turn a blind eye to the possibility that their child could be a victim? Thank you for watching/listening, and I will see you in the next video.